There's a dirty little secret in the guitar world. The most popular whammy bar system ever made is an overcomplicated, unstable piece of crap. Balancing string gauge and spring tension is like solving a Rubik's Cube with a hangover. And once you finally get it working, don't you dare pick too hard, or it's gonna go out of tune faster than when Britney Spears' stage crew forgot her auto-tune. So why is it worshipped like gospel? Because this guy endorsed it. Because Eddie always picked the best gear, right? But guess what? There is a better design, smarter, simpler, and actually stable, and it won't ruin your recording session because you breathed on it too hard. Today, I'm gonna show you why this thing curb stomps the Floyd Rose and why you've been lied to for decades. I got my first Floyd Rose equipped guitar way back in 1988, and it was great. You could do all kinds of insane shit with it. Dive bombs, flutters, harmonic dive bombs, the kind of stuff that makes 14-year-olds start bands in their parents' basement. That is, until you decide to change the string gauge. Or the tuning, and then?
No, and then!
Yeah, that's when I got my first real education in more than meets the eye when it comes to products. Because at its heart, the Floyd Rose is a gigantic pain in the ass. And if you own one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't deny it. It looks cool, it sounds cool, but let's be honest here, it's an STD for your guitar. Looks fine at first, but the minute you touch it, everything starts burning and falling apart. And this thing will cost you money in the studio, because I've seen it happen dozens of times. Band comes in, guitar player puts new strings on his guitar, changes gauges and doesn't think about it, and suddenly we're spending the next 2 fucking hours rebalancing the thing just to get it into playing shape. And this is why I insist on charging by the hour, because guitar players are dumb fucks who will pull shit like this. Let's be clear here, there are 2 things that, without fail, will grind your recording session to a halt. Number 1, your bass player, because no matter how many times you begged him, still didn't bother to learn the fucking songs! And number 2, your guitar player, because he brought in a Floyd Rose that wasn't set up properly. And why would he? That would take effort. And where metal bands are concerned, effort is kryptonite. And that's why auto-tune gets used more than toilet paper these days. And then...
No, and then!
Then we're spending the next 3 hours teaching the guitar player not to hammer the hell out of his strings because it knocks the guitar out of tune! This is the flaw of the Floyd Rose system. Because it's using a knife edge and a fulcrum, the bridge is balancing between string tension on the front and spring tension on the back. It's basically a tug of war between the two, and any playing will disturb the balance. Pick lightly, you shouldn't notice. Dig in on your strings, yeah, good luck with that. And then...
No, and then! And then! No, and then!
Then we've got to worry about temperature and humidity, and stretching out your new strings. Hell, resting your hand in the wrong place on the bridge. All of these will knock your guitar out of tune. And if you're in the studio paying by the hour, you're spending time working around these issues instead of actually fucking recording music. Look, a Floyd Rose can be great, but I've seen more bands flush more money down the studio toilet thanks to those bridges than I can count. And every time I see Mr. Rose at NAMM, I generally don't know whether I should go over and shake his hand. Here's the part that drives me absolutely up the fucking wall. All of the Floyd Rose problems everybody just accepts as normal, they were solved decades ago. Solved! There's a trem system that doesn't go out of tune when you palm mute. It doesn't move until you physically make it move. And it actually sustains longer during dive bombs because the string never stops touching the bridge. And that system is the Kahler. And no, this isn't nostalgia, this is basic mechanical reality. Setup, the Kahler is not a balancing act. You don't need to spend an afternoon chasing spring tension like a fucking idiot. Change string gauge, turn 1 screw in the middle of the cam. Done. Different tuning, same screw. Done. Spring tension, adjustable. Easy, imagine that. String changes, you leave the ball ends on, lock the set screw, change the string, unlock, move on with your life. Meanwhile, all the Floyd owners out there are cutting their strings and crawling around on their hands and knees looking for that tiny block they just dropped and wondering why the fuck this keeps happening. Don't tell me you've never done that. And when it comes to palm muting, it doesn't pull the bridge sharp. You can hammer on it as hard as you want. Dive bombs, you get longer sustain because the string maintains its witness point the entire time. It doesn't disappear halfway through the drop like a Floyd does. Multi-scale, think of it, they'll build it. Customer service, actual humans. And here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to admit. Any idiot can make a Floyd, which is why there are tons of absolute dog shit ones out there. And Kahler, one company, one design that's built to last. And speaking of last, I've got the last ever G&L custom Rampage made in California and fitted with the Kerry King signature Kahler and a Sustainiac pickup. It's time to meet Screamin' Shirley. And here it is. This is the last ever G&L custom Rampage made in California before the company went out of business. I was lucky enough to get this. No, Phil McKnight did not get the last one. You're looking at the last one right here. Let me explain to you exactly why this guitar is called Screamin' Shirley. Of course, the secret weapon on this guitar is it's fitted not only with an awesome Kahler trim, it's got a Sustainiac pickup as well to generate infinite sustain and harmonics. And yeah, you can just do the most insane shit ever with it. You just take a nice harmonic like so, and then hit the split. Hell yes, that is exactly what I'm talking about. My only complaint with this guitar right now is just it's really slick here and it loves to slide down your leg if you're playing in jeans. So I'd either recommend getting some skateboard tape for right here or put a strap on. And let's do the neck dive test and let's see what it gives. Oh! Yeah, I really don't want to drop this, that's for sure. I'm just holding with the guitar under like here because I don't have any strap locks. But this, even with this somewhat slick Levi's leather strap or Levi's leather, whatever the hell you want to pronounce it, it's a little slippery, but yeah, this guitar is not going anywhere because it's really nicely balanced, which is just freaking amazing. Love that Sustainiac pickup. Whoop, and it's still going. That's something new. Yeah, you got to turn the harmonic thing off even when the volume's down, or it will keep going. And one thing as well is if you ever get one of these guitars, make sure you unplug it when you're not playing it. That way you don't drain your battery. And speaking of that, output jack test. Possibly one of the best output jacks I've ever had on a guitar. You really got to yank on this one to get it to come out. So that's really great. And that brings it to gig ready. Is this guitar gig ready? Yeah, without a doubt it's gig ready. Personally though, I'd prefer something like this as a studio weapon because number one, I'd be worried about bringing this to a gig, not because it's unreliable, but because it's desirable. And the fact that it really does kick ass in the studio for pick strength, because unlike a Floyd, you can beat the shit out of this and it is not going out of tune. Let me show you. You know what's the other really cool thing that this beats the crap out of a Floyd for? Check this out. Yeah, let's see you do that with a Floyd without needing to mechanically modify it with a hip shop detuner. This is just designed to work the way how you want it to. Now, I gotta go through, the required tests here. Let's see here, the Tonewood test. I guess this wasn't a cheap guitar, so I guess it passes the Tonewood test. What kind of tone wood is it made out of? Check the specs real, because honestly, I don't know. And let's see here. Country of origin. Yeah, this is about as Yankee Doodle dickweed as it gets. I mean, guitars made in California, the parts are machined in California and assembled in Las Vegas. Yeah, this is about as American as it gets. And yeah, it's an absolute killer design. But this is what I'd expect from a premium American brand. This is the kind of quality that we were promised. One last thing I almost forgot. We got to do the fingerprint magnet check. You can put as many fingerprints on this as you want, and you are not going to see them. Honestly, I like white guitars for two main reasons. Number one, it shows up on camera great. Everybody sends me black guitars and is like, oh, fuck. It's always a nightmare to fucking get those things to show up on camera. Secondly, they don't show fingerprints at all, which is super cool as well. Now, clean tones aren't exactly what I call the strong suit of this guitar, which is fine. 99% of the time, I'm playing with distortion. Anyway, but, for the bridge pickup, they're fine. But you go to the neck pickup and it's like, yeah, because the sustaining act has to be on, but then you're introducing noise as well. You can go both pickups, it's not bad. But I'd really recommend turning off the sustaining act for cleans, because even if you're on the bridge pickup and you have the sustaining act on, you're going to get a little bit of that buzz. You're not going to hear that with high gain, but you will definitely hear it on clean tone. So just be aware of that. One of the more interesting observations I've made after producing over 2,000 videos here on YouTube is how fast certain people will absolutely shit all over anything made in China. And I get these comments constantly.
I only buy American. I won't send my hard-earned money overseas.
And every single one of those comments was typed on a Chinese-made smartphone sent through Chinese-made networking gear, probably while sitting next to an amp full of imported parts. But let me get this straight. This is where the moral line gets drawn, right here on a guitar. And then you get gems like this.
Support USA guitars and end communism.
All right, cool. You want to do that? That's fantastic. So, where's your Kahler? Because I'm going to take a wild guess that you don't have one. Not a single one of you, which is kind of fascinating because the Kahler is American made. Sure, it costs more, but it's mechanically superior. It's also easier to set up, it's more stable in the studio, and it's actually reliable in the studio. And yet somehow the loudest Buy American crowd never seems to support this particular American product. Now, why is that? Because the second that support American manufacturing requires you opening your wallet instead of your mouth, it just turns into excuses. It's too heavy. Your hero didn't use one. It's ugly. Hell, there's even a Facebook group called Guitars Ruined by Kahler, run by a bunch of dudes so beautiful that they break mirrors just by looking at them. So let's cut the bullshit, shall we? This has nothing to do with communism, ethics, or patriotism. This is identity cosplay. A Kahler doesn't advertise how much money you spend. It doesn't scream status, it just works better. Musicians aren't patriotic, musicians are cheap. And when Made in USA costs more and doesn't come with clout, suddenly it's just not that important anymore. So yeah, if you're yelling, support USA guitars, while typing that complaint onto a Chinese phone, what you actually support is not American manufacturing, it's branding. So let's see what this Made in the USA monster is actually all about and give it a 5-star breakdown. Packaging, 5 stars. Now, despite Canada Post's best efforts to absolutely destroy the last ever G&L custom Rampage, the guitar still showed up in perfect working condition. Why? Because it came in a hard shell case that actually did its job. Sure, this case is now about as useful as a screen door on a submarine, but who gives a fuck? It sacrificed itself so the guitar could live, and that's what true heroism really looks like. Now, I would love to meet the knuckle-dragging moron who did this and hear whatever brilliant excuse spills out of their mouth. Because if this thing had arrived damaged, there sure as hell wasn't ever going to be a replacement. Thanks, fuckers! Setup, 5 stars. This is, without exaggeration, one of the finest playing guitars I've ever touched. The action's flawless, the intonation's spot on, the bar tension is absolutely perfect. I don't think it gets any better than this. Now, massive shout out goes to Eddie Curran at Kahler. He clearly put some real time and care into this one, and it shows. This is how professional setup is supposed to be done. Fit and finish, 5 stars. No scratches, no dents, no dings. Not a single imperfection anywhere. This is jeweler grade craftsmanship. Everything about it is immaculate, and it is a fucking crying shame that G&L isn't around anymore to keep making instruments this good. Honestly, I don't think they ever got their due, but what they created here, this is incredible. Components, 5 stars. This thing is top to bottom just plain loaded. It's got a Graphtec nut, Graphtec ratio tuners, a Sustainiac pickup, and a Kerry King signature Kahler trem. It is an unbeatable combination that lets you pull off absolutely unhinged, infinite sustain whammy insanity. At times, it kind of feels like you're not playing a guitar anymore because it's venturing into theremin territory. And I generally don't understand why more players aren't asking for cool guitars like this. This is just way cooler than the usual, let's tune down the lowest note human ears can tolerate nonsense. Overall, 5 stars. This is the rarest of all outcomes, a full 5-star guitar. It's everything you'd ever want and absolutely none of the bullshit. And this is exactly what you should expect from a true American builder. Something incredible. Gibson, I really hope you're paying attention because this is how it's done. Maybe you can hire some of the people who used to work at G&L and finally learn how to build a great guitar properly. I love this guitar because it's not even remotely chasing the current trend of tune as low as possible and play Morse code. This thing goes in a completely different direction and it's just plain cool. Now it's a damn shame that G&L went out of business because Shirley here plays beautifully. And the good news though, Kahler didn't go anywhere. They're still cranking out hardware, and you'll find their trems on the Kerry King Dean and the Jeff Hanneman LTD guitars. They also show up on some BC Rich guitars, although I've been reading some pretty unfavorable stuff about BC Rich lately, so I'm not convinced that's where your money should go. Maybe one day I'll do a stealth buy on that brand, and we'll get to see what you're actually gonna get for your money. But what really seals it for me is Kahler and how they take care of you. Their customer service is just plain unbeatable, and that matters if you plan on keeping your guitar for longer than 5 minutes. And they'll do custom work too. So if you got a multi-scale and you're wondering, wonder if we could put a whammy on this thing, pick up the phone. They'll make it happen. And to the Floyd Rose crowd losing their minds right now, please listen carefully. If your bridge goes sharp when you palm mute, that's not player error. That's not you need a better setup, and it sure as fuck isn't part of the magic. That is a fundamental mechanical failure. If a device can't stay in tune while you're doing the most basic thing a metal guitarist does, it's broken. No amount of coping, forum posts, or sunk cost justification changes any of that. The Kahler doesn't need excuses. It doesn't need you to defend it online because it works. And something this cool shouldn't be so rare. Now go ahead, tell me how I'm doing it wrong, because I've got over 27 years of recordings that say otherwise.